higher than the expenses for when President Barack Obama had a rally in the same location in 2009. In addition, the source asserted the Secret Service is responsible for protecting the president and interacting with local law enforcement, not the campaign. And that's how it works, folks. So yeah, all these cities are getting screwed over by Trump. Is that a surprise? Considering what he's done to contractors that have built his hotels, that have built his golf courses, is it really a surprise, folks?
I don't know what people need to see before they get infuriated. I really, really don't.
Well,
don't be afraid.
I tell you what, I've got a way to infuriate folks, but in order to do that, we have to play the appropriate music.
Stop! Hammer time!
Yeah, it's hammer time. It's time to drop the hammer on the douchebag of the week, and we've got 2 winners this week. And every time we have 2 winners, we have to play this clip as well.
Double douche.
The double douche. Ladies and gentlemen, Wade Garrett. Exactly right. I love Sam Elliott. God, I love his voice.
Yeah, the double douche.
Yep. So,
who are the winners?
Winner number 1 this week is a previous winner of this award, former federal prosecutor Joe DeGeneva. He was most recently on a episode of The Ingram Angle on Fox Propaganda Channel. This is what he had to say about the impeachment.
What you're seeing is regicide. This is regicide by another name, fake impeachment. The Democrats in the House want to destroy the president. They don't want to preserve the republic. There's nothing honorable about what is happening. We get first one anonymous informant, then a second anonymous informant. I refuse to call them whistleblowers. These 2 non-entities are suicide bombers that the Democrats have unleashed on the democratic process. It's pretty obvious that this first suicide bomber who sent that complaint to the Inspector General was a paid Democratic operative of the Democratic Party.
You mean political suicide bomber, obviously,
yes.
Before we start getting people messages. Oh, he really meant suicide. Get a sense of humor, okay? If you still think that, then you really should. You watch another show where we have to spell it all out for you.
Yeah, I wish people would watch other shows other than yours, Laura. You know, I got to tell you, Jack, I'm more and more Ed Schultz had it right about Laura Ingraham.
This right-wing slut, what's her name, Laura Ingraham? Yeah, she's a talk slut.
Yeah, he had it right on the money there, sweetheart. Let me just tell you.
I'm amazed how close this winner's name is to another person in the news this week. I want to hear the second winner. Degenerous. And they're all close to degenerate. I mean, it's an amazing amount of similarities.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And yes, that is
Degeneres. Degenerous, excuse me.
Yeah, and that's our second winner this week, Ellen DeGeneres. Why would I go after somebody that's so sweet and bubbly as
such
Ellen
a cool
DeGeneres?
Dancer at the end of the show? She really is smooth.
Yeah. Well, it has to do with this. Let's set it up for you. Here's clip number 1.
So this weekend, I went to Dallas for the Cowboys game. So Portia and I were invited by Charlotte Jones. She's the daughter of Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys. So we get to sit in this very fancy suite because, you know, he owns the whole place. So his suite is fancy, and he's got fancy friends. And I don't mean fancy like Real Housewife fancy. I mean like fancy. Look, I took a video of who was next to me.
And so she shows this video that she took on her brand new iPhone 11, as she would tell the audience later.
Distraction.
So she pans across AT&T Stadium, and she pans to her left, and there's Portia, her wife or girlfriend, her significant other, and next to her is Jerry Jones's daughter, as was mentioned. She then pans over to her right, and there's former President George W. Bush and Laura Bush. So let's just play clip number 2 as she continues to talk about her experiences at the Cowboy-Packer game.
So I've got to say, when we were invited, I was aware that I was going to be surrounded with people from very different views and beliefs. But during the game, they showed a shot of George and me laughing together, and so People were upset. They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? Didn't even notice I'm holding the brand new iPhone 11. But a lot of people were mad, and they did what people do when they're mad. They tweet, but here's one tweet that I loved. This person says, Ellen and George Bush together makes me have faith in America again. And exactly. Here's the thing. I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay, that we're all different. For instance, I wish people wouldn't wear fur. I don't like it, but I'm friends with people who wear fur. And I'm friends with people who are furry, as a matter of fact. I have friends who should tweeze more. And but just because I don't agree with someone on everything doesn't mean that I'm not going to be friends with them. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. I mean be kind to everyone.
But here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with that. There's a difference between somebody who wears fur and somebody who has called for legislation that would allow conversion therapy on LGBTQ plus people.
She dug herself a hell of a hole right there with her tongue, because if she wants to talk about acceptance of those who are different, nobody's violated that axiom more than George Bush.
Mm-hmm.
This is the conservative who insisted on amending the Constitution to ban same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
So are you going to be that benevolent, that open-hearted, that gushy, platitude-filled speaker, Ellen, when the conservative comes and says you can't marry? I don't even know if she is married.
Yeah.
Or if you are married, it's been nullified.
Yeah.
Are you going to sit and share hors d'oeuvres up in the box in Dallas then? Mark Garofalo had it right.
I've got that right here. This is Cindy Henderson writing for USA Today. This is dated October 9th. Ellen DeGeneres' friendship with former President George W. Bush has got Hollywood up in arms and taking sides. DeGeneres stood up for her friendship with the former president on her show Tuesday after catching heat for sitting next to him during Sunday's matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers, and we just played the clip. DeGeneres' plea for tolerance drew praise from some famous faces, including Reese Witherspoon, Kristen Bell, and Blake Shelton, but others said Bush isn't off the hook. Mark Ruffalo, for instance, seemed green with rage following Ellen DeGeneres' support of George W. Bush. Here's what he wrote on Twitter. Quote, sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served his folly, we can't even begin to talk about kindness.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Ellen.
He wasn't the only celebrity upset with DeGeneres for trying to find middle ground with Bush following his polarizing political past. Our girl, Susan Sarandon, took issue.
Good.
Here's what she posted on Twitter. Quote, but missing the point entirely, DeGeneres framed the issue as simply a matter of her hanging out with someone with different opinions, not a man repeatedly accused of being a war criminal. End of quote.
Can I add Vanity Fair? Go ahead.
Let me keep going. Jamila Jamil of The Good Place said she understands the controversy after researching Bush more. Here's what she wrote on Twitter. Quote, oof, learning today about the full extent of Bush's heinous presidency. We weren't taught much about him at school. We just heard he was stupid. We were dealing with our own epic nightmare of a prime minister back then. What a monstrous leader. I now understand the rage. End of quote.
I can see the Pretty in Pink or the blonde, with the sweet smiling face of Ellen in the sunny little world, thinking that it's all fine, forgetting the carcasses of hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, forgetting, there's no comparison to even call this. We have to be kind to one another. For decades, Ellen DeGeneres has been the sunny representative for a brighter world we might all live in if we're just kinder to one another. But that imagined utopia seems increasingly out of touch with reality. The reality, Ellen, not inside your little bubble, is that we are still suffering from the damage that George Bush did to us economically. How many suicides a day? How many military?
Every single day, 22 former military commit or current commit suicide.
Yeah.
Every single day in this country.
Have 22 carcasses break through your little sunny bubble and land on the front of your stage there that you're going to dance around with a big grin on your face. As Vanity Fair said, the utopia that you imagine isn't in reality. It doesn't exist. In reality, we got billions of dollars spent on on a lied-for war, and he and Cheney both need to be tried as war criminals, let alone the LGBT.
Yeah, exactly. And let me just spell it out two different ways here, folks. And I'm going to be controversial. I don't care if people turn off this show because of what I'm about ready to say. If conservatives could get away with it and had their way, they would execute LGBTQ plus people. Period. End of story.
It's true.
It's the absolute truth. And what we're seeing with Ellen DeGeneres, this is classism. This is wealth privilege. I've said it on this show before. Wealth is the ultimate privilege. More than skin color, more than race, more than sexual preference, more than gender, more than religion. If you're wealthy, you can get away with anything, and you're safe. As George Carlin said, it's a big club, and you ain't in it.
And I'm going to tell you, the difference between Reese Witherspoon and Susan Sarandon's take of the world, objective take of the world, is the difference between us getting out of this mess. You're looking, Darren, at two women who are totally opposed in their understanding of the world. And we need to side with Susan and Mark and say, these two criminals have got to face justice.
Yep. So for Joe DeGeneva and Ellen DeGeneres, winners of this week's Douchebag of the Week award, we have this message for you.
Don't be a douchebag.
That's right. Stop being douchebags. Ellen, stop selling out the LGBTQ plus people by hanging around George W. Bush. Joe DeGeneva, you're a former federal prosecutor. Stop selling out this country that you supposedly love in defense of Trump. God, is it that simple? I'm going to just end with this. You know, I used to end the show by saying, please be nice to each other. I quit that a long time ago, probably about a year ago.
Bring it back out.
And I don't know if people noticed it, but here's the reason why. Because you've got people like Trump out there. Because you got people like Joe DeGeneva out there. Because you got people like George W. Bush.
Exactly.
That's
Get out of Bush's
why I
lap.
ended it, and I'm going to end it for now. We're on the time for this week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Jack Prince.
Please support independent media and the First Amendment.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.